it's fine that you're not okay. Sometimes accepting the situation of not being okay is the first step of dealing with that problem.
Yes.
And if it's okay to be okay, then we ought to change our mentality about every situation.
Yes.
Because ideally not all comes to pin us down and to devour us.
It's okay not to be okay. This is the Black Mirror. I'm your host, Rachel NGORE'S, and our guest today is Maurice Ondijo.
Hello viewers, it's a pleasure having this chance on the Black Mirror show. I'm honored to be invited here. We just fresh from the long Easter holidays, and it was a religious time. To our friends on the Muslim side, it was a good time of Ramadan. And this gives me an insight to perhaps begin this on a little theocentric perspective of saying there's a good verse I love from the Holy Book. It says, "Come, let us reason together." And I think the Most High Being, God, has endowed us with good intellectual ability to be able to reason with Him. And so there is everything good about the power of reason. There are times I just sit down and I say, I have a meeting with myself and make conclusions. And having the ability to reason with yourself is one step towards dealing with a setback. And I don't know, Mary, what you think. It probes my mind to imagine that somebody has to get to a point of sitting down with himself or herself to be able to get a better way of dealing with some of these setbacks. And today, perhaps what I wanted to probe our mind towards is finding an ambience and an ability to be okay with some of the setbacks we meet, because ultimately we have to face them anyway.
Thank you, Maurice, for that. You know, we find that today there are so many young people even end up committing suicide because of the setbacks. This is where you find that nobody accepts that now this is the situation I am in. Nobody finds it so easy, because by the time you are going through the setups, the only thing you see is ending it.
Sure.
And therefore, that is why it is so much important to make these people know that as much as they are going through so many setups, there is hope.
Sure.
Yes.
Take a moment and imagine you're driving to, let's say, Nairobi.
Yes.
And you're driving along a down leading lane. And it's just sloping downwards and it's never seeming to be climbing. You'll take a break and say, really, am I heading the right direction?
Yes.
And so I believe that life being a journey and the nature of it all, we are bound to meet ups and downs of this life.
Yes.
And I think the punchline of today's show really has something to say. It's fine that you're not okay. Sometimes accepting the situation of not being okay is the first step of dealing with that problem.
Yes.
And if it's okay to be okay, then we ought to change our mentality about every situation.
Yes.
Because ideally not all comes to pin us down and to devour us. Let me bring out a little scientific analogy.
Yes.
There's a beautiful creature called a butterfly. And many perhaps do not know that it actually begins like an ugly caterpillar.
Actually, it does.
And this creature undergoes several developmental processes that science calls metamorphosis.
Yes.
And during this process, it's not a sweet process for the poor creature. It's a process characterized by a lot of pain for it to grow wings, going off food, and a life of withdrawal of being alone.
Yes.
And this is not any different from some of the experiences we go through, the life we face. There are those times in our lives that we actually have to be alone.
Yes.
There are those times in our life that we actually have to go off food.
Yes.
There's no appetite and you can't force it in. There are those times that we feel so grieved and the pain is overwhelming. And the result of all this metamorphosis process is a beautiful butterfly, don't you think so?
Yes, and actually we find that time it's our darkest moments in life.
Our darkest moments in life.
Yes.
Now, this gives me a platform of just concluding and perhaps reasoning.
Yes.
That were it not for the painful metamorphosis process, we couldn't be having a sweet, beautiful butterfly.
Yes.
And so there are some setbacks in life that brings out the best in us. A couple of friends I've shared with in the past, even from my own experience, there are some setbacks that hit you so hard. But the result of it all is a different being with a different perception.
Yes.
It changes your way of looking at things.
Yes.
It completely changes your perception on everything. Changes the way in which you go around judging friends of how they fail in certain ways, because the experience has taught you in its own school.
Yes.
And so perhaps it's a moment to reconsider how we take our setbacks.
Yes.
Some of them are good lessons in disguise.
And actually we normally say that experience is a good teacher.
Oh yes.
Because most of these setbacks, as we go through them, we get a lot of experience.
Sure.
And therefore, they make us even strong.
They make
Very
us even strong.
Yes, they make us stronger, so that by the time they are coming, when you face something that is maybe slightly lighter than that,
Oh, yes.
you will say, oh, I went through something that was so tough. And that experience, I passed through that experience so well. Now, this one is simple.
Oh yes.
Yes, so the setbacks normally gives us strength so that we can be ready to face others that are coming. Yes.
Do you know that for you to be in a better position to help someone in a terrible problem, you need the experience of a similar problem?
Definitely, yeah.
You have a better platform to argue that I know what you feel.
Yes.
When you tell someone that I know what you feel when he has lost a loved one, you actually can argue so. If you have gone through the experience of losing a loved one.
You've been in that shoe.
You have been in that shoe before.
Yes, you know how it is.
It has stung you with the same pain.
Yes.
It is only upon that platform that you can have a better reason to
Yes.
argue to a friend that I know what you feel.
Yes.
You need that lesson, friend. You need that challenge to bring out the best in you.
Yes.
Actually, those who are working in gold mines know that so well.
Yes.
For gold to be well refined, it needs fire.
Yes.
And when the fire of this life is consuming, it may sometimes consume the best of your treasure. Sometimes it comes so hot that it consumes your child. Sometimes it comes so hot that it consumes your job completely. But the end result of it, for those who have the capability of bearing and internalizing this concept of being fine in their tribulations,
Yes.
the result of it is a good one.
Yes.
And so, friend, sometimes take it positive that we have these setbacks of our lives.
Yes. The storms, the strong storms that normally hit us so hard.
Oh yes.
They are to take us somewhere better.
Somewhere better.
Yes. And they should not be putting us down, derailing us.
They should not be derailing
Yes, we should
us.
not just measure on them so much in that we cannot think. And actually these storms, when they come, they help us think even harder. Yeah.
I come from the lakeshore cities.
Yes.
And I see the experience of fishermen when they go about their business.
Yes.
And sometimes it's so hostile in the lake. Sometimes the storm is overwhelming. But the fisherman in the lake, when the storm is overwhelming, knows one policy.
Yes.
Don't stare at the storm. The moment you lose focus and stare so much at the storm,
Yes.
the courage disappears all of a sudden. All the stamina you had to face the storm is all gone.
Yeah.
And so every single day a new storm of life hits, and we take a longer time looking at the storm, grieving. We lose the sight of the only available hope.
Yes.
And so sometimes we have taken a longer time in denial about a problem.
Yes.
We wonder so long how that heartbreak happened. We take a little longer time trying to worry about where the next job will come, now that the job we had is all lost.
Yeah.
And the longer we take, the more energy we lose.
Yes.
The more courage and stamina to move the next inch. The more we lose it all. And so we get more deteriorated.
Yes, and you know, it's okay to, whenever you're faced with this challenge, it is okay to grieve.
Sure.
But it's not okay to overdo it.
It's not okay
Yes,
to overdo
take
it.
some time, grieve about it, accept, because through grieving, you accept that, yes, now this is what is going through.
Oh, yes.
Now this is what has come to me. It's there.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so it's good to grieve, but not overdo it. You know, at times we say that too much of something is dangerous.
Oh, sure.
Yes, take some little time, grieve, and see way forward, because there is hope.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Just to give strength in what we are talking about, there's a certain writer who said this. Grief and loss happens to everyone. We've all felt misunderstood during times of great pain. We've also stood by helpless in the face of other people's pain. Yes, so it happens to everyone. And he continues by saying, we've all fumbled for words, knowing no words can ever make things right. You know, at times somebody is going through something that is so tough, you're standing there and actually you have nothing, you lack words to tell this person.
Says no words, right?
Yes.
And even themselves have no ability to explain or express what they're going
Yes,
through.
what they're going through. And that is why you find that these people who normally are grieving, they are times misunderstood.
Sure.
Yes.
And you hear people explain about why he had to go that extent of being suicidal.
Yes.
And by the way, the punchline of the show has this to bring to our attention that accept the situation.
Yes.
And it's one stage of overcoming the whole thing.
Yes.
Once you have the capability of accepting that this happens for everyone,
Yes.
you will have the strength to start figuring out how you want to overcome it.
Yes, true.
Once more, let me borrow from the good book. It says, there is no temptation that has overcome you, save that which besets your brethren from everywhere. It means you are not alone.
Yes.
It gets everyone. Everyone faces it. And just when you think that you are the one who is grieving, someone once grieved the most and he overcame it.
And it's not your fault.
And it's not your fault.
Yes.
It's not a curse or anything.
Yeah.
It's not some strange hand as many would perceive. That, oh, is it my making that this has happened? Is it my mistake? They catches up with people every time, everywhere, and they don't notify some of us when they're coming.
Yes.
Sure.
And that is why you find that people really fear to share their griefs whenever they are grieved, because the aspect of it's somebody's fault, that is why he or she is going through this,
Oh, yes.
is nowadays too much.
Oh, yes.
You get judged.
Be able to get over denial by accepting that grief is part of this life. And you will be successful in a milestone in overcoming that problem.
Yes. You can be part of this show by commenting, by subscribing. You can like and share as we get blessed together.